So Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac. It is masculine in its gender. It is an air sign as far as its element, and it is cardinal as far as its quality. So this is actually my sun sign. So doing this was interesting. I got to reflect a lot on my own behavior and how I come off, or how I think I come off, and how I express myself. And I would say there's a little of me in all these four archetypes. At any given time of my life, there's been times where I've been the hopeless romantic. There's been times I've been the lawyer type and the pretty popular girl or guy. And there's times that I've been the please like me pushover type. So yeah, I can kind of relate to all of these. I'm not sure which type I'm like the most right now. I would say if I had to think, I would say I'm more like the hopeless romantic type, like in a good way. Like, 'cause I'm gonna say some bad shit about this type, but in a good way. I don't really have most of the negative traits anymore. I did have a lot of these negative traits when I was younger. But anyway, let's get started. So the first type I want to talk about is the hopeless romantic type. And this is the type of Libra that is always thinking about love. Libra is in love with the idea of love. Sometimes they're not in love with the reality of love, though, just because the reality of love comes with pain. It comes with ups and downs. Even if you have a healthy relationship, there's still going to be those fights. There's still going to be those disagreements. There's still going to be those ways in which you may fail to live up to expectations, or you may feel like your partner has failed to live up to certain expectations that you may have. So Libra is in love with the idea of love, and the idea of love is perfect, at least in our heads. But being in love with this idea of love can get the hopeless romantic in trouble too, because the hopeless romantic may overlook things when they're getting to know someone just because they like the idea of being with them. And usually they like the idea of being with someone that they shouldn't be with, because they're physically attractive. It's usually something superficial. They may have a lot of money, they may be popular, or famous. And this type of Libra can very much fall in love with that. But as the relationship continues to grow, the Libra usually will realize this is not good for me. I picked this person just because I thought they were attractive. And I had this beautiful fantasy of us being together, and we don't even like each other. We can't see eye to eye on anything, so we need to break up. I will say that about this type. They will get to the point where they're like, okay, this is not working. They can also be serial monogamous. And Libras, especially of this type, can't handle breakups. And that is when you will see the Libra at his or her worst, is after a breakup. But especially with this type, some people think that this type may get over relationships fast because they'll be in a relationship, break up, and let's say it was a long relationship, let's say it was a overall good relationship, they'll hurry up and hop in another relationship within a couple days, weeks, months, and you'll look at them and you'll be like, you were just with the last person for how many years, and it was a good relationship for the most part, and you over it that fast. And it's not that the Libra is over it at all. It's that the Libra doesn't want to be alone with those thoughts. And Libras, especially of this type, a lot of times they can feel incomplete without a partner. The sun, right now I'm mainly pointing at Libra sun signs, though it could be other types of Libras too, Libra rising, Libra moon. It can be like this as well. But just to hone in on Libra sun sign, the sun is in its fall when it's in Libra. That means the sun doesn't like being in Libra. The sun is all about your self-worth, your self-esteem, how you express yourself. And when you put it in a sign like Libra, the sign of relationships, the sign of like fairness between two people, like it's like it's like our egos aren't complete on its own, or we feel like it's not complete. Um, and the Libra can constantly be reaching outside of themselves for the things they're supposed to be going in within for, such as their self-esteem. A Libra may not feel attractive unless they have a partner, or unless they're being hit on by people. And Libras are often physically attractive people. And if they're not physically attractive, at the very least, they're charming. So Libra is a sign that shouldn't feel that way about itself, but it often does, especially once again this type. I pointed to how Libras can be in relationships with people who don't treat them right, but this type, the hopeless romantic, they can be abusive as well. Now, usually it'll be like verbal abuse, or just kind of tearing down their partners. If a Libra is ready to break up with you, for example, we'll just get really, really critical. Especially this type, we'll get really critical. We'll always have something negative to say about you. We won't be affectionate. As a matter of fact, Libra is a sign that can be kind of funny acting when it comes to affection. Either we're really like picky on how you touch us, or I know for me, I'm not all that affectionate like with touching another person. I more so want the affection. So it's almost like it's almost like we kind of think of ourselves as being the prize a little bit. Yeah, I just meant that shit out loud, but it's true. And that's not to say that we don't think you're the prize as well, because a Libra with a healthy mindset sees themselves as kind of the best in a way, but they also won't be with anyone unless they're the best as well. Because they want that, Libras, we want that equal counterpart. Libra is about balance and equality. So a Libra won't really date somebody that they look down on. But they can kind of have this energy of, I deserve to be spoiled in some kind of way. It might be financially, it might be affection wise, it might be attention wise, it might be that we just like a lot of compliments and things like that. Yeah, but we want our partners to realize that we are a prize. Maybe not the only prize in a relationship, but we are a prize. Back to the whole we can be abusive thing. So like I said, especially if we're unhappy with the relationship, we'll get really critical. We might down talk to you. If we suspect that you're cheating, or we find out that you're cheating, or you leave us for someone else, a Libra can and often will get violent at that point. And I know that's kind of shocking for most people, because Libra is like this non-confrontational person, really cool-headed. That's kind of a facade, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, that can make us snap. And for some Libras, relationship issues and breakups are the only thing that can make us snap. Also, about the us suspecting you cheating thing, a lot of times that's projection with Libras. Libra, Scorpio, and Pisces all deal with projection. And I'll talk about how it's projection, those signs, when I get to those videos. But yeah, a lot of times, not always are they cheating if they accuse you of cheating, but a lot of times they are, especially if, and it can be really hard to tell if a Libra is cheating, because Libra is a really, really sneaky sign. I want people to really know that, just because Libra is a sign that benefits from the halo effect. And a lot of times people only see Libra in a good light. and it's frustrating because I'm like I've dated a few Libras. I've had negative Libra traits. I still got a few negative Libra traits. So I like look at that and I'm like, no, that's bullshit. They're not that good. Um, but it can be hard to tell if we're actually loyal or not. But one thing I will say, and maybe this is my Venus and Virgo talking, but of the Libras that I've known who've cheated, when they're cheating, they'll get really, really hygienic. Like if and Libras are usually a pretty hygienic sign, but if you know that your Libra went from washing up twice today to three times a day, something else might be going on. And I know that's so weird and so like really, but I mean, if you think about it, we're that Libra's trying to clean off the person's font call for them. So it makes sense, but like out of all the other things, everything else the Libra can hide pretty well. So Libra is a sign that you gotta kind of take the leap of faith with and kind of just trust. Um, but I will say, especially with this type of Libra, the hopeless romantic, one really good thing that I want you to ask a Libra if you're dating them is, are you the one? If that Libra pauses or doesn't say, yeah, I think so, and give it some time. If you've been dating a month, don't ask the Libra that. But if you've been dating like a good year and that Libra doesn't tell you you're the one, leave that Libra. Because even if they don't become like abusive or whatnot, they'll it will become obvious that they don't really cherish you. And another good way, if you can tell if a Libra is the one or not, is if they don't defend you. Now, Libra is a sign that's very fair, and a lot of times they won't have the back of their friends or family or whoever just because they want to be fair. And if their family, friend, or whoever is on some bullshit, the Libra is going to be like, "Whoa, you're kind of wrong too." Um, but with the Libra's romantic partner, they are kind of our world. If you are the one for a Libra, you are kind of our world. So even though we're fair and rational, if somebody tries you, we're just gonna snap. And if that Libra doesn't have that reaction over you, break up with them because you're just not gonna be treated how they could treat you if you're the one. This one, I'm done rambling now. The pretty popular girl. So the pretty popular girl is, first of all, she can be a guy. Sometimes I call the signs guy or girl just because they have more masculine energy or feminine energy. And even though a Libra is a masculine sign, it's an air sign, is ruled by Venus, and Venus is extremely feminine. So, and you can see that in Libras, you'll see this balance of masculinity and femininity a lot of times. A lot of times with Libras, you'll see the reversal. Like a lot of times Libras will be like, females will be aggressive. Like, think about the song Cardi B and Bruno Mars made. They're both Libras, and usually in a song where there's a singer and a rapper, the man, he plays a more masculine role, and the singer is female. It's switched with them two. Pay attention to that. Even Usher, when he made that song with Lil Alicia Keys, in the beginning, it kind of sounds like Alicia Keys is about to start rapping. And Alicia Keys is an Aquarius, and Aquarius women can't have that masculine side to them. Um, you'll see that reversal with a lot of times with Libra, where a Libra man may come off as very feminine, and a Libra woman may come off as very masculine. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling, I promise. The pretty popular girl. So she's pretty. She's well liked. Charming, even if they're not physically attractive, but usually they are easy on the eyes. And they can be obsessed with the way they look too. They can be obsessed with beautifying themselves, and they can be obsessed from a like I'm so pretty kind of angle. Like Libras can just think they're just the prettiest things in the world. Kind of think about how AOC was just criticized by some Republicans not too long ago, and she was like, "Oh, you can't date me. Republicans are just mad because they can't date me." And I'm like, I don't think that's why they were mad, but that's Libra all day. And there's a few other signs that can be like that, but Libra can just, especially the pretty popular girl, yeah, she thinks she's the finest thing in the world. A lot of times they are attractive, but it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes you gotta look at them and be like, you ain't everybody's type, you know. You're eye to me, you know. So that's how they can be though. They can be fashionistas, and Libra usually dress really well. They can even create their own clothes, and it can be dope. Seeing a Libra that makes their own clothes, they can kind of go through a Mean Girls experience, and what I mean by that is that Katie in Mean Girls, the lead character, she kind of had a good head on her shoulders in the beginning, and she was doing well in school. She was new from South Africa. She met two people. They seemed like they're cool. They had her skip class, but other than that, you know, her two friends seemed like they had her best interests at hand. But then she bumps into the pretty popular girls, and Libra wants to be a part of that. So she disses her friends, and she realizes that the pretty popular girls aren't her real friends. And a lot of Libras will go through that, especially this type, will go through that at some point in their life where they'll kind of sell their souls for fame or something, and then they'll realize, hey, I have people that really have my back, and I betrayed them. But yeah, that's something they have to go through usually. Back to Mean Girls. How this type of Libra fights. You remember in Mean Girls when Katie was talking about how she wanted to approach Regina, whatever, and she was like, "I know how this would be handled in a while," but then she was like, "In girl world, the fighting has to be secret." That's how this type of Libra is. If you get into it with this type of Libra, and just like you find yourself falling out with people, you find that like there's a lot of rumors about you and shit like that. That's this type of Libra. They're working behind scenes to get you fucked up. I will say I've noticed that if this type of Libra grew up in the hood, they will be fighters though, but they'll be fighters just to get that clout. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they won't really fight nobody if it's just them by itself. Which there's a different type of Libra that prefers to fight one on one in private. But this type of Libra, they'll do it for clout. But funny enough, these type of Libras who didn't grow up in the hood won't fight in public for the exact opposite reason. They don't want to look ugly. They don't want to look like they're doing something bad. They always want to be seen in a good light. I think a lot of people think that Libras don't fight because they're cowardly. And this can be the case sometimes, but usually it's not that they're cowardly. Usually it's because with this type, they don't want to look ugly. Because in Libra's head, fighting in anger is ugly. Unless they have a prominent Aries, a prominent Mars, something like that, typically Libras think fighting is like uncivilized and lowly. Interesting enough, they're the kings and queens of Snyrim works. So if you go home and you start recollecting what a Libra said to you, and you're like, that was kind of shady, they probably meant it in a shady way. Male type of this, the pretty popular guy, let's call him, he may be well liked, but he might not be respected just because he is a more feminine man, and depending on the culture, the surroundings, people may not respect him because of that. And Libra is a sign that can trade respect for like, so they can kind of do that too. Now, there are some guys of this type who are very outwardly feminine who do demand respect. One person that comes to mind is Snoop Dogg. He's a Libra. Y'all remember how Snoop Dogg used to do his hair? How used to have his hair pressed and curled, and he had hairballs and hair ties in his head. Listen, if he likes it, I love it. But it's just funny because he's supposed to be this thug, and I guess feminine men can be thuggish, but like usually thugs are hyper masculine, so it's just kind of funny. Like I got my own feminine traits. I'm not judging him. That's another thing too. This type of Libra man, we usually proud of our feminine traits. We don't give a fuck that somebody cares that we're pretty boys. Like so, like we really don't care. Now the next type is the lawyer. The lawyer is argumentative as hell. This is the type of Libra that they can kind of be know-it-alls at times too. And Libras are very intelligent, but it can be annoying. Um, they can be a little too like straight laced, like a little too goody goody, because Libra deals with small courts claims. I can talk, and it deals with that perfect balance. So with that, Libra can be kind of petty, and they can kind of always be talking about what's right and what's wrong, even on a very small level. You know what I mean? Like one person, if you can be living in a house with three people and one person ate the other person's food, and the Libra will be all deep in that, and they'll be telling you how it's not right and shit, and it's not that big of a fucking deal. Okay, it can be that big of a deal. You really want that food, but it's not usually that big of a deal. And they could just be meddlesome in that way, and they can kind of start fights like that, even if they don't mean to start fights. That's the thing. I think a lot of people think that this type of Libra is trying to start a fight. If they don't like the two people involved, yes, they're starting a fight. But if they like the two people, they're really trying to like hash it out. But it can be like they can be adding like fuel to the flame accidentally sometimes. Now I said they're argumentative. They're not usually physically violent unless they see somebody getting bullied. This type of Libra absolutely fucking hates bullies. Now the thing of it is, they might provoke you to attack them though. Don't attack them because then they're gonna sue your ass. They basically like to use the law against their enemies, and this type of Libra can be really good at finding loopholes and laws and loopholes. Even if you're playing like a board game, they'll find like some cunning ass loopholes and play them against you. They can be really calculating. There's some things that I said a lot about Libras, but they can be calculating. Lastly, we have the please like me pushover Libra. This is the type of Libra that everybody fucking hates, and this is the type of Libra that is talked about almost more than the other types of Libra. I think a lot of people come across the pushover Libras. And like I said in the beginning, for the other archetypes, a lot of times they're non-violent. Like the pretty proper girl, she's non-violent because she doesn't want to be seen as ugly. It's not actually fear. The please like me pushover wants everyone to like them, and if they're confronted or being bullied or something, they'll make a joke usually about it, and they'll just not want to engage in a fight. Sometimes because of fear, sometimes because they feel like they'll be disliked if they stand up for themselves. It's really weird. They're big people pleasers. Never really putting themselves first until they snap. Now this is the type of Libra that does snap and surprise the hell out of everyone. All Libras can surprise you with their anger, actually, because a lot of times we're not confrontational. But this type of Libra really shocks people because they can be quite violent when they finally snap, because they've been holding back this entire time. This type of Libra won't allow themselves to process anger at all sometimes. So if they're getting picked on, eventually they're just gonna lose their shit. And this type of Libra, once they lose their shit once, it's like they never kind of calm down. It's like they're always kind of hyper defensive, and they're always kind of like seeing things as an attack. And I will say that I got a little bit of this type in me too, because I was bullied a little bit, and I was like, I want to say like 7th, 8th grade. And basically my mother told me that I wasn't allowed to be in a fight even if I'm defending myself. And I've noticed that trend with Libras. I've met a few Libras who kind of had their backbone stripped away from them by a dominant parent. It's just something I noticed. I don't know if there is an astrological connection with Libra in that, or if there's something else that's in our charts that's alike but is not Libra. But I've noticed that a few times that we kind of get like de-backboned. But like I said, once we snap once, we tend to be like hyper defensive and just like a little too ready to fight. Um, I think it's just a trauma response, and also, I think that a lot of times we're very angry with ourselves for not having a backbone at one point. We can kind of look down on ourselves for that when I think everybody's been bullied at some point, even if it's not by like a peer. Like I feel like everyone's had a parent, you know, go too far, a sibling, older sibling go too far. I feel like everyone's known that feeling, but Libras a lot of times won't. This type of Libra will a lot of times be very angry, years and years and years of after you know they were bullied, and they don't tend to a lot of times forgive themselves, and a lot of times because they don't forgive themselves, they don't forgive other people. So this is the grudge holding Libra. Like other Libras, they too cool for school. They a lot of times won't let the stuff affect them. Sometimes they'll front like something's not affecting them, but it is. With this type of Libra, it's affecting them for real, and they don't know how to let it go because they haven't forgiven themselves yet. And now a few songs that kind of like resonate with this type of Libra. There's the song "No Love" by Lil Wayne and Eminem. They're both Libras, and it's basically about snapping on a bully. And then the song "Get Up 10" by Cardi B, another Libra. Me and her actually have the same birthday. But is "Get Up 10" is basically about being the underdog and climbing to the top and saying "fuck you" to everybody that's ever treated you wrong. And Saturn is exalted in Libra. Remember when I said, I want to say in Taurus, that don't just look at the ruling sign to understand, I mean, ruling planet to understand the sign. Look at the fall, look at the detriment, look at the exalted planet too. And Saturn is exalted in Libra. And Saturn is all about authority and success with age and hard work. So when the Libra does rise to that position of prominence that they want to be in, that's when they'll say "fuck you" right back to the people who hurt them or fuck with them. I dig it. I'm very much like that. um, I think there's a couple other signs that can vibe with that too, but that's very the please like me pushover Libra. Now later on in life, just like the lawyer Libra, this type of Libra can become really interested in politics or law. As a lawyer, as usually as a lawyer, but they can do other things when it comes to law as well. Um, there just tends to be this fire that starts to burn in us. And Libra is a sign overall, especially this type and the lawyer type, where we can't stand injustice. We can't stand bullies. We can't stand, you know, people who use their power against people who are weaker. And I think some of it is because we know what that feels like, but some of us is always been like that. Like we just have this burning desire to do something about the injustices in the world. Um, and I want to point out Kim Kardashian, even though I don't think she's necessarily this type, I think she's more of the pretty popular girl. Even when Libras, because a lot of times Libras can be famous or well liked because just because they're beautiful or they're uh, talented artistically. Um, but that superficiality that Libra loves to live in, as we age, is like we have to force ourselves out of that. And we have to do something that's real, something that's kind of deep. And usually at that point, we'll get into, like I said, politics or law, something of that nature that deals with fighting with for the underdog and making the world a better place, basically. So now I'm done rambling about Libra. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is definitely my longest video, but I'm a Libra sun sign, so it makes sense. Let me know in the comments. If you're a Libra sun, Libra moon, Libra rising, maybe you don't have anything in Libra, maybe you can't stand Libras, maybe you love Libras, I don't know. Leave in the comments your reviews, your opinions, your thoughts. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time.